Project Sapien is a podcast meant to engage our brothers and sisters in the law enforcement and military communities in conversations we all know we need to have. All opinions you hear are our own and are protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. They in no way reflect or are meant to reflect the opinion of any specific agency, officer, or service member. Some opinions may be controversial. Listener discretion is advised.
Project Sapien doing its rock and roll thing.
I like it, man. I like the door kicking music to kick it off. That's a good pivot there, sir. Number one law enforcement and military podcast is back. Thanks to our tens of thousands of listeners. We thank you for all the positive feedback and all the questions on the back end so far with season 3. And we are full send, and it would not be possible without you or our partners and supporters, starting with our good friends at AAA Police Supply, the one-stop shop for all of our law enforcement listeners looking for supplies and duty gear. Head over to AAAPoliceSupply.com and use the code HYBRID10 for 10% off every order you make. That's AAAPoliceSupply.com, and that code HYBRID10 will get you 10% off every single time. Big thanks to our friends at the Havok Journal, the voice of the veteran community, focusing on current affairs and articles of interest to the public in general, but really the veteran community specifically, for independent news that gets to the facts on everything from geopolitics, science and tech, finance, to contemporary affairs, art, and entertainment. Head over to havokjournal.com and make sure and check out our partners and friends at the Profiles in Havok podcast as well. Big thanks to Second Mission Foundation for everything they're doing to educate, elevate, and advocate for our service community, helping them find their second mission after government service. Head over to secondmissionfoundation.org for more information on what you can do to be part of their program. Also want to thank our friends right down the road from you, I'm in at 22 Mohawks, combating veteran suicide by providing assistance to veterans needing the help navigating the reentry into the civilian world when they return home from duty. To learn more about everything, and I mean everything, they are doing across the spectrum, head over to 22mohawks.com for that info. Big thanks to Kyle Lamb and his company, Viking Tactics, the best tactical gear anywhere. From battle belts to slings and everything in between, Kyle's company offers an elite selection of high-quality, battle-proven tactical gear guaranteed to be ready for it when you need it every single time the job calls for it. Check them out at vikingtactics.com. And, of course, we want to thank our friends at the Overwatch Project. We all know that suicide is often an impulsive decision, with research showing the majority of survivors saying they thought about it for less than 10 minutes and that firearms are the most lethal tool there is. The Overwatch Project's aim is to put some time and distance between our person in crisis and that tool by just fucking asking the question, do you have a plan for your firearms when you're in that dark place? Can we make one together? And will you be my buddy and help me with the same? Head over to overwatchproject.org for more information on how to form workable plans of action and how to just fucking ask. Iman, man, another week in the books coming up here, and we got a bunch of stuff. We're just on a roll, and I'm so happy to be here. This is like the highlight every week. The highlight of my week, sitting down and talking shit with you a little bit. It's just awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no worries, man. We got words and shit. So we got shit. We got stuff to talk about.
I don't know if the world's ready for words and shit. We got to get him free and clear, and that's going to be holy shit. That's going to be. We might break the internet.
We might,
or we will find an entire new audience that we didn't know existed. It could go either way.
Exactly. Just couple of quick shout outs though. The West Point combat weapons team, they won again at SIG.
Big surprise. Surprise.
Yep. I think this is the second, third year in a row winning.
I think it might be the fifth year.
Or fifth year.
I think fifth overall, and maybe the third or fourth in a row. They've been, they're fucking killing it. No pun intended.
Yeah. So Charlie, great job with the guys. They were up at SIG over the weekend and with the Relentless Warrior Challenge, and those guys killed it, even with the bad weather we had up here in the Northeast.
Horrible weather.
And they still somehow got it done. But again, in the good old days of the Army, if it ain't raining, we ain't training. That's just the way it is, right? So it's great job on those guys.
And for those that don't know, the Relentless Warrior Challenge is something that's been put on the last. Think of it as like we just had the NCAA tournament, right? We just had the championship for basketball. You got Super Bowl for professional football. You've got the NBA championship. This is essentially the world championship for collegiate tactical shooting, for lack of a better term. There's no, there's not like a league for that. So the Relentless Warrior Challenge is something that's put on where all the service academies plus a number of colleges that have shooting teams come out and do full tilt, 2-gun, sometimes 3-gun tactical shooting exercises and competition against each other. and it is
kind of like tactical
awesome.
games on steroids, basically.
Yeah, I mean, tactical games on steroids, but then with you know, and I love the tactical games, obviously, and it's extremely challenging. I would say that the Relentless Warrior Challenge, because of the participants and what they are already all the waivers they've already signed to the military and everything else, they might get pushed even a little bit harder just because they can, right? So there's more O course type stuff, and it's fucking awesome. To make sure, and if you're listening, check out 6 Hours YouTube channel. They put up last year's, that's kind of a highlight reel summary of last year. I think about 6.5, 7 minute video, the 2023 championships, and it's a fucking awesome video. Oh yeah, they'll do it again for 24 here, and it's just it's so awesome. If you ever get a chance to dive in with that and even go be a volunteer, do it, because man, it's fucking rad. Yeah.
So great job, Charlie. Charlie, if you guys remember, just owner of Havok Journal, been military guy, retired out of the military, been at West Point for a number of years. So great job. Great job, guys. And so the other announcements, which will be during this episode, is coming up. So this time around,
tease. Good
job. So Jake made his debut into the Havok Journal, and that's one thing why we love the Havok Journal. They are willing and they will publish good, solid information, articles, whatever you might want to call it. They'll put it out, and it was just quite the read of an article, and basically the article's about Jake's favorite subject: what's wrong with the fitness industry?
Oh God, it's one of my few soapboxes, but yes,
yeah. So we're gonna jump right in. What I'll do is I'll add the article to the show notes. That way you guys can all jump on and read, because we back our information with stats and information, and we don't just throw a blanket statement without having some real solid information, statistics in the back, just like what we do with the training, with the stress inoculation and tactics. There's so much science and stats and all kinds of stuff we put into it that, yes, it's legit. So yeah, go ahead, Jake. I mean, tell us what is wrong.
Well, gee whiz. The 5 or 10 minute article reads, sum it up in one word: a lot. I mean, it's just, first off, I want to thank Charlie for giving me the opportunity. They're really looking hard at pushing that whole side of their information channel with fitness and health and wellness and everything. And part of it, has been really symbiotic with what we've been doing this season, especially talking with like Dr. Free about operator syndrome and all the stress inoculation stuff. And so, I mean, it all kind of comes full circle, and Charlie gave me an opportunity to write an article that I would write, which is lots and lots of detail, lots and lots of data, and really just breaking down something that is, if you're in the industry, it's visible and very clear. But for external people, it's kind of hiding in plain sight, and people don't really realize that either they're being victimized by it or they are part of the machine that is victimizing other people. And so, a big thing I'll say is just, if you go read the article, buckle up, because I'm not very kind, because it's calling out a lot of bullshit and actual numbers. And the nice thing that you have the opportunity with Havok Journal is when you're reading through it, and I'll cite all the data, they're hyperlinked, so you can check my shit, right? this is all public knowledge. Everything's available. Everybody could go learn this on their own, but most people don't have the time. So I try to, summarize as much of it as possible and get you to understand, exactly what it is that you're buying into and participating in, short of being the person at their home gym by themselves. It's a gigantic ecosystem of a $250 billion a year entity that is literally preying upon people that don't know any better. And it's frustrating for me because, and you and everybody else that's in our line of work, because, we're here to help people and we want to make people better, but then you got to fight this gigantic uphill battle with this industry that's hell bent on turning and burning and churning people in and out the door just to make a buck.
Oh, absolutely.
And under the guise of doing something to help you. And it's complete fucking horseshit, because they really aren't interested in helping you.
No.
So, what's wrong with the industry? Corrupt. It's corrupt
a lot.
And dirty and a lot. And, I think if I had to boil it down to one sentence, it'd be, it's completely unregulated and there's no requirement whatsoever for any kind of certification or national body that you can go to a business, or you can go to a building, rent a space, hang a shingle up as, John's personal training or John's gym or whatever you want to call it. And you're just as legitimate as the big franchise gyms down the road. You don't need to know a damn thing. If you're a good salesman, you're going to be successful. If you're a shit trainer and a good salesman, you're going to be successful. If you're a good trainer and a shit salesman, you're not going to be in business. So it's just ass backwards and upside down.
It is. And that's the thing. It I think, it kind of goes across a lot of industries there, to include law enforcement training industries, where there are companies out there that are just shitty, but know how to market really well. And they will put out these fucking rad videos and cool shit and cool shooting and all that. And when you actually look into their training, you're like, oh my God, they're going to get people killed. But hey, they're great salespeople, and they're able to market it, and the gym industry, the nutrition industry is the same exact way. There's no real big difference other than, in our line of work, people's lives are on the line. And that's the thing that really bothers people like myself, Jake, where it turns into this, money scheme. That's all they are, is just a money scheme. And you could see that sort of predatory behavior. I mean, Jake, let's talk about predatory behavior, right? You've mentioned it a couple times, and we all see it, right? Beginning of January, what happens? All of a sudden, the gyms are full. Thank God I got my own gym, because I hate people. So I have a home gym, and I work out by myself. That's all I want. That's all I need. I don't feel like dealing with people with their cameras and their bullshit and trainers, quote unquote, that go up to you at these big gyms, like, hey, you're looking to, I'll measure your BMI and I'll let you know, blah blah blah, and like, get away from me, guy. I know more than you. I'm that guy, Ron Swanson from Parks and Recs, where he walks into Home Depot and the guy says, "Sir, can I help you?" And he looks at him, he's like, "I know more than you," and just walks away. So that's me in the gym. So that's the thing. So predatory behavior. Let's talk about that.
Well, it's like anything else out in the field. You can identify people that are looking to take advantage of others, right?
Yeah.
And if you've never really opened your eyes or looked up, maybe you are one of the self-sufficient people. And our audience is a proactive audience, right? I mean, we got a lot of law enforcement and military, obviously, that listen to this, and they're significant others. That doesn't necessarily mean that what you're seeing at the place that you're at is this, because there are a lot of great gyms, and it usually comes down to a great owner and great community. So if you've got a gym where you've seen the same people consistently, you see progress consistently, don't think that this is a blanket statement about everybody, because it's the statistical outliers, unfortunately, are the ones that are solid, consistent gyms. The problem is that the industry is built on absorbing and eating up that customer base by putting them out of business. And it's a specific timeline and a specific model, and you can start at the very bottom, which is just the sales cycles. The New Year's sales cycle is the number one sales point for all franchise and fitness industry gyms is New Year's. And big promos, membership sales, you got sign up deal, all the shit. We all know it, right? I don't need to go into detail on that, but it's all there to bring more people in the door, because what's reality in a big box gym, unfortunately, is that they're not interested in you being as a retained member. They're interested in growing their membership total and their base. And their average annual churn rate of 50% means 1 out of every 2 people are going to quit by the end of the year. Between January and March, you've got 70% of the people in those New Year's ones that will quit. So if your average annual churn is 50%, and it varies depending on region and stuff, somewhere, anywhere between 40 and 62%. But if your average annual churn is 50%, you got to keep cycling new people in, right? Well, that's why these gyms and these entities tend to live on a 5 to 7 year cycle of the products and programming that they're selling, because they know they're going to chew up their customer base no matter where they're at, and they're going to burn it out. The hard part is identifying that when you're in the middle of it. If you're self-sufficient, you've been on your own programming, that's great. That's awesome. That's super fantastic. But a lot of people, as we walk down the streets and see 68% of our country, is obese. So if almost 2 out of every 3 people are fat and don't know they know better than what they're doing. They're just choosing not to. I mean, I can't help it. If you got a smartphone, you got Google, you have the access and the capability of finding the answers to what is going. You're just choosing to eat like a trash panda and not train. I got no problem eating like a trash panda, but I train so that I can eat more like a trash panda, right? So it's like,
well, yes, there's a positive behind that.
There is a positive. I work out really hard so I can eat more cookies, right? So it's not like, I'm sitting here like, my body's a temple or some bullshit like that. Because the reality is I like fucking cookies. I like steak. I like food, I like the food that I like. And I don't really want to have to regulate that. So I train harder. Sometimes you got to back off, but nonetheless, the bulk of our country is bulk, just fat as fuck. And the industry knows that. And so what people want in our culture is quick fix, instantaneous, snap the fingers. Oh, I'm going to get this in 30 days. I'm going to cut 20 pounds.
Yep.
Fuck, I can cut 20 pounds off somebody in 2 weeks, right? You can't, I mean, it's like you can do, it's all water weight. It's not real, right? But they put them on these cycles. They put them on these, these cleanses, all this bullshit, because the real work is long-term. The real work is sustainable work. But that's not our culture. Our culture is consumer based. We want to consume, use, dispose, and then go buy the next thing. And the fitness industry knows that. And so they do a really good job of getting you in the door. And then if you are out the door, that's cool, because they got 2 more people coming in right behind you, because that's where they're always front leading edge, right? They're always selling, because on average, you've got about maybe 10 to 13% of your membership base walking in the door in a day. So if you have 1,000 people in a Planet Fitness, or whatever franchise you want to talk about, if you have 1,000 members at that gym, you're maybe going to see 13% of that, 100, 130 people a day, maybe. And they bank on that, because if it was any more than that, the usage on the equipment becomes expensive. You got all this kind of the other variables, right? So they really don't want to see you. They don't want to see you in there. They don't want to retain you. They don't want you coming in. They want to take your money, which is why Planet Fitness is $9.99 a month, 24-hour fitness goal. They've all got those introductory rates, because it's such a low price point. You'll forget that you have it. And then when you don't go and you're like, I should probably go. Fuck, it's only $10. I don't want to cancel because it's kind of paying the bucks. They're going to charge me $300 to cancel and all that other shit that goes with it. But they know that it's such a low price point and they can do such high volume. They're going to make gobs of money off of you.
Absolutely.
And that's really where the start of it is that, one, you're not relevant. 2, your success actually isn't important to them. They don't care. They really don't. They only care about you buying the next product in the next cycle.
Exactly. And the cycle, I think you put it in the article, what was it, every 60 to 90 days? It's a new, which makes sense. So you got the winter cycle, right? You got people who are joining the gym, New Year's resolutions or whatever. Then in 90 days, spring's around the corner. Surprise, surprise. That's the next cycle. Oh, let's get ready for that summer body. You're there in the springtime specials, and then another 90 days is what? Summer break. Now you're into the summer, and you're right. It's like, and these things are studied, which I don't know people realize this, but these major corporations, these major companies study human behavior. There's a reason why they study human behavior. There's a reason why they know so much more about you than you. There's a reason behind it, right? And that's the thing. Like let's kind of transition a little to law enforcement, right? Law enforcement. We'll talk a little on that. So the obesity rate in law enforcement is massive, right? Massive.
Huge.
It's. I mean,
pun intended.
Ready? I went into the Google machine, right, and typed up obesity in police. Just type that in, right? This is a frontier.org. It's a website that has like research and all kinds of shit for those that don't know. On average, right away, 40% of officers are obese. And this is an article, a research article that was done June 21st, 2023. So this is very recent. On average, 40% of police officers are obese, about 5% higher than the national average. 74% classify with elevated to stage 2 hypertension, and 27% have 3 or more COVID risk factors, or sicknesses, or whatever you want to call it, which is 100% accurate. Now, if, let's say, you really want to work on yourself, you really have to work on yourself, because our job is very tough. Hours, we work all sorts of hours. If you're on a specialty position, you get called in all through the night, whatever. It makes it very hard for the average cop to maintain a certain level of fitness, because also there's no real regulatory body, if you want to call it, when it comes to the fitness of police officers. Each department can do their own program or whatever if they really want to do health and wellness type stuff, which we've met police departments that actually do that and care, but majority of them don't care. I shouldn't say don't care. They do care, but the city and the politicians, whatever, there's just no money to actually.
They're not investing in a solution for it.
Exactly. And it's funny that insurance companies don't want you to be healthy. they don't, because Blue Cross Blue Shield and some of these other ones, they'll give you like an incentive because you joined a gym. Here's $100. Oh, so you're trying to be healthy. But the reality of it is they could give a fuck, because to them, you're still a consumer. To them, they want you to be sick. That way they can make money, right? And doctors make money and everybody makes money off you. So why keep you, why make you healthy? Because if you're healthy, you live longer. You are able to, you're not injury prone as much. Guess what? you're actually healthy. You don't have mood swings. You know, psychiatric
well,
issues.
you might just because people are assholes.
Well,
but
exactly. Yeah, well, that is true. If you're me, yeah, you're going to have mood swings because the minute I step outside my house, I'm like, I hate everybody. But but that's the thing. It's like psychologically too, as cops, when you're healthier, guess what? You're in a better mood. Like, you know, overall, you are that much better. But why do that? Right.
Well, and I literally just had it was probably 2 weeks ago, a guy that we work with, got to make sure I don't give away departments and things. Law enforcement. He would okay in shape. You know, he's been detective for a few years, riding the desk a little bit more than normal. And he knows he's a little bit, you know, we'll call it fluffy, right? He's by no means obese, right?
Yeah.
Got his blood panels done because I was getting on him for it. I was like, hey, get your fucking blood work done, dude. You don't have x-ray vision. You don't have, you know, like I've said before, phlebotic x-ray. You can't see inside your blood. Go see what your fucking numbers are. You feel like shit. You're sleeping like shit. Like, as we've been, you know, any of the listens to the podcast, he's like, I should probably get checked. Like, yeah, dummy.
Yeah, go get it.
Of course, you know, we're friends, so I can call him an idiot because he's a fucking idiot. But you know, I was like, go get your numbers. And the battle that he had to go through with the, you know, because the union approved docs and all that kind of shit. It took him 3 weeks just to get his fucking blood work requested. They were happy to do cholesterol.
Well, yeah, the usual shit,
right? With a lipid panel. But they weren't going to do hormone because, you know, they're like, he's 46 and they're like, yeah, well, you know, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, give me my fucking, you know, so that was a whole other side note. But when the cholesterol panel came back and the lipid panel came back, slightly elevated. I mean, slightly, like, hey, what'd you eat the day before or the couple days before? You know, yes, it was a fasted draw, but you were kind of like an asshole. So, you know, we can close enough. You can manipulate that with some, you know, gaming the blood draw a little bit. Right. So in other words, like right on the edge of being fine and not fine. Or, you know, elevated. He didn't even make it 5 minutes into the readout with the doc and they were wanting to fucking put him on a statin and walk him out of there with a fucking script in his hand. And I'm like, and of course he said no. He's like, the fuck? Like he knows enough to be dangerous where it's like, no, I don't want that. I'll try diet and upping my fitness a little bit. Because the one thing he wasn't doing was really training consistently. He's intermittent, you know, to his credit, BJJ once a week. Right. But he'd kind of let the weights and the fitness side slide because he likes going to jits. But the first thing they wanted to do was put him on a fucking statin. And he's like, he's a biscuit, probably an actual biscuit away from having that number drop 10 points. And they want to get him hooked onto a med, right? Because that's where their revenue is. And it's just, it's the dependency culture. And they want to just, as many people as they can make dependent makes more profit.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I understand the detective world. I mean, I was a detective for a number of years and I mean, it's a static, you're sitting behind a desk, you're typing for hours, you know, you're not really going on the road only when you get called out to like a homicide or something, you know, active. But other than that, you're just sitting there. And the most important part of the day as a detective is when do we eat? That's the reality. Like we go in at, you know, you go in at 8 a.m. We'll say we're sitting in the office, we're shooting the shit for about an hour because we're drinking our coffee, whatever. 9:30 comes around. We're like, oh shit. All right. Hey, where do you guys want to go for lunch? Or where do you guys want to do this? Where do you guys want to do that? And it's all, you know, it's all just desk work, you know? So you can easily gain a shit ton without even trying because you're just, you know, I mean, I used to find myself as I'm typing, if there's like some chips or whatever, I'll type and eat and what, like it's very, very easy to do. So that's why I'm not surprised with these stats, especially in the law enforcement world where, I mean, if you're sitting in your cruiser and it's a slow night, I mean, you're going to be tempted. Let me stop by the friggin' local 7-Eleven, Cumbies, whatever you have in your jurisdiction. And all of a sudden you got the hot dog sitting there. You got this. And by the way, there's a reason why stores are set up a certain way, right? Yeah. There's a reason. And way back previous life, I went down to ExxonMobil. I remember, I forget if it was Virginia or whatever. And I did some training down there. And they had like anthropologists, sociologists talking about how they study people's gaze, eyes, their needs in terms of what they want to eat and stuff. There's a reason why the healthy snacks are sort of hidden in stores. There's a reason why you gotta walk through the entire store before you're able to find like almonds, you know? Yeah,
they're hidden in plain sight on the perimeter.
Exactly. And the minute you walk in, you're looking at, oh, you know, I got this bag of chips or the hot dog stand, which is right in front of you. Ooh, okay, maybe I'll grab some good old hot dog at 2:30 in the morning, which is a horrible thing to do, but you know, that's what's facing you as soon as you walk in that door. And that's the thing, like this industry, whether it's fitness and food and whatever, it's very, very predatory. They're very, very much looking at ways to keep you unhealthy so they can make a buck. And that's
Absolutely.
it. That's it.
Absolutely. And it's the frustrating part about that is that the guys is, you know, hey, we're here for you and the betterment of you. And the reality is like, no, they're here because you are the commodity.
Yes.
You are the profit center.
Yes.
And as soon as you stop becoming a profit center, or you evolve out of it with knowledge, for most people, you're no longer of interest to them, and you're no longer going to be part of that machine.
Yes.
And it's not just at, you know, the local gym level, right? And I say local gym, not in the sense of like private ownership, even though I know a lot of people that own small training entities and gyms. You got one of two ways you can go with that. You kind of do the word of mouth, you know, type of thing, or you're really good at sales. Yes. And the ones that are really good at sales, they're really good at sales, and they do really well with business, and good for them, right? I can't blame somebody. You know, if you're going to separate somebody from their dollar and their pocket, and you're better at it than the guy to your left, good for you. We're in a capitalist culture, and, you know, we can all feel what we want to feel, but the reality is the guy on the right that makes more money is going to be in business longer than the guy on the left.
Yes.
And that's it. Right. And so the funny thing about it is that you take it from that, you know, the micro level, right? The daily turnstile, the individual gym, and you take it up channel and you start looking at like, well, it can't be that bad, but it, you know, where's big business with big business is all over it. The top 50 fitness franchises are owned or have controlling interest from 10 wealth management firms.
Yeah.
So if you go and start digging through this stuff, which, you know, of course, it's linked in the article, you'll start seeing that big business is not stupid. They they know when the market has enough value, they will be interested. Right. Yeah. And since, honestly, I'm going to credit CrossFit with this. You know, 2008 really was kind of the kickoff for some of this, because before that you had, you know, your box gym, you know, your big box like Gold's Gym, Bally's, LA Fitness, you know, the kind of what we all kind of the bro space, right? You know, the kind of the broy gyms, right? And then CrossFit comes along, and it's like, hey, these are all, you know, movements and stuff that anybody who's been training for a long time, Olympic based movements, understand and know, but they made it cool. They made it sexy. They put, you know, really good looking dudes with no shirts doing workouts, and the same thing, you know, same thing with the girls with, you know, knee high socks and the lifters, and looking cool, doing cool shit.
So,
and being really fit.
Real quick about CrossFit. Actually, it's funny you mentioned CrossFit. When I was in the desert back in 2005, CrossFit was not really known, right? Because
barely getting started.
And they were at first geared towards soldiers, Marines, whatever, who are deployed overseas that don't have equipment. And it was really like an awesome way to work out, because all you need was sandbags and like a pull-up bar. Well, yeah, Murph. Yeah, exactly. Murph challenge. Yeah, you're wearing the shirt.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they made it so simple. All you need is sandbags and a pull-up bar. And then that's it. That's really all we needed to get a good fucking workout. And then, 2008, it blew up because it got so popular and all that. And that's when you got into the fitness models and all that shit.
Well, and they made Olympic lifting popular, right?
Yes.
I mean, before that, anybody, if you heard the term snatch, you weren't thinking about a barbell movement, right?
No. Power snatch? Wait a minute. Is that power?
Hold on. Is that like a stripper with big quads?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No, but I mean, the you know, and again, I have my feelings about CrossFit, and there are phenomenal CrossFit gyms. There are phenomenal CrossFit coaches.
Yeah.
The previous owner now, I'm glad he's previous owner because he's a fucking shitbag, but the whole structure of that company was kind of fucked.
Yeah.
And that is a perfect example of the industry took a turn, and it started becoming, you know, I mean, Instagram is essentially a fitness model's paradise, right?
Oh my God.
Yes, you got workout influencers, but it's like, if you took the content of what they're saying and put them in a hoodie, nobody's going to fucking listen. But if you take what they're saying and put them in a sports bra or a dude with no shirt on and, you know, tight shorts, people pay attention because they're attracted. It has nothing to do with the level of the content, right? And so I give CrossFit a lot of credit for popularizing fitness to a point where it was no longer American Gladiators, it was the CrossFit Games, right? And that's fucking awesome, because for people that like to work out and like to train, and, you know, I don't think there's a tactical games without CrossFit, right? Because
100%.
they made that bridge possible. So the problem with that was, now fast forward 10, 15 years, and the industry itself is going from this kind of like weird sort of subculture of people in these boxes, you know, oily and, you know, shit with the kind of the classic, you know, 80s ideology of what a gym is, to now you've got people, micro studios, micro gyms, big, you know, and even bigger facilities that are buying into this, and it starts making real money. And once it starts making real money, people with money start paying attention. So when the industry started gathering enough annual value, you had big business start to really look at this. And in the article, there's a really it's a great case example of not just the scheduling and but the overwhelming predatory nature of this, but how fucking hyper specific and good they are at it. And you mentioned it with, the grocery stores, people understanding buying patterns and selling patterns. It's the same shit in the fitness industry. So, I go pretty deep into the F45 conversation, and, a big part of that is people don't really, they don't know what they don't know until they know it. And so I was hoping that at least I could highlight some things, for the Havok Journal community in particular. And then of course, now we're talking about it here on this platform, but the reality is we're all potential victims, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. And, when Charlie and I were talking originally, I was like, hey, I would definitely like, cause he gave me an opportunity. He's like, hey, if you want to write something for Havok Journal, I'm like, I do, but I'm not sure that it's something that, I don't know. Is it going to be something people are going to want to read, because it's not very kind. And I've got, this, and then basically the two, well, three topics, but the first two, one was going to be on the fitness side. And then because I have a lot of just insight with that, with my background, but then also the supplement industry, both are unregulated, both are hyper predatory, and both are run by a bunch of people that are interested in profit margins and making boatloads of cash off of you, even at your own expense. And unfortunately, the consumers don't know any different. And so they don't know when they're being, bent over a fucking barrel and shown the 50 states. Just watched that movie the other day. Fucking, it's so funny. It's like, it's not a saying, it is now. But, so my response to Charlie was, okay, because the general question for me with writing is always like, okay, why does this discussion matter? Okay. And why does this discussion matter to Havok Journal? So with this in particular, and I really wanted to use the F45 example because I think it's one of the most egregious, but it's also the template for what happens. For those who don't know, I'll give a brief rundown. F45 is a franchise gym that came out of Australia. And if you remember pre-COVID, BC, before COVID, BC. It was all the bee's knees with fucking particular Hollywood person goes by the name of Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark. Mark was a principal investor in F45 in 2019, put in a boatload of his own money, and all of the interviews and all the stuff around it, was all about, it's such a great workout. Cause he's known and, for being fit, and he's that guy, right? He grinds and all that stuff, which is great. But the reason that I felt like this particular example mattered, and I really wanted to put it out there, in 2021, F45 had not quite gone public yet. But in 2021, as they're on the front end of that, and go into this in the article, they opened up a location in Miramar on base. And he did an interview with Fox Business, openly encouraging and inviting veterans to become owners and operators of F45 studios. So take their own money, all the happy talk about we love our vets, they're the forefront of dedication and commitment, and all the good feeling things, of course, is on the back end of Lone Survivor and all the movies he's done. And so really sugarcoat and blowing a lot of smoke to motivate some people to give them their money. And they also partnered with the DoD, and for any active duty service members prepping for discharge, they were going to get certified and qualified for business loans at a discounted rate to open F45 franchises. So you have a very specific approach to these pre-public sales of the franchise, right? And generating capital. So Wahlberg put in, he put about, I think it was $100 million in 2019, and through himself and his proxy investment company, which is all legal, by the way. That part's all legal. There's nothing wrong about that. The company at the time, F45, had a rough valuation of $450 million. Of course, when he attaches his name to it and starts going on Fox News and doing all this stuff,
it skyrockets.
It skyrockets, right? Yep. So when their IPO, their initial public offering, their valuation was over $2 billion.
Wow.
He pulled in 4 times his original investment, right? Now, great, awesome. That's the American dream, right? I invest $1, I get $4 back. That's fucking fantastic. Catch is, and we talk about, I talk about in the article that 60 to 90 day window, they've got this so fucking dialed. Wahlberg dumped 99% of his shares on the market between March and April of 2022.
Interesting.
The share valuation when they went public, right? Okay, so they go public and everybody's super pumped and happy, all this kind of, super great, over $16 a share, all this kind of shit. By June of 2022, June, last time I checked with my 7th grade daughter, is the 6th month of the year. They go public, right? Like less than 90 days beforehand. By June of 2022, those shares were under $1.35 a share. The entire thing had collapsed underneath itself, but Marky Mark was already out, along with the principal investors, which is why they're now under investigation from the SEC and all kinds of Federal Trade Commission stuff and international, because they're Australian based. So they've got, Interpol's got a case. They're going to get a massive hammer dropped on them, which they're going to write a check for and get out from underneath. But that is the model, right? Yeah. So why it matters to this community, because they're sitting there actively trying to take investment of your earnings while deployed, while on active duty, on your way out, giving you a deal on your franchise investment, because the way they make money on that, drive it up, get out at the top, and then watch it collapse underneath. Because unless you're selling the front end of those franchises and clipping off the back end, if you are the last one in and the last one out, you are upside down. The only way to do it is to be in first and out first. Yeah. And they know this, and they do it on a cycle. Orange Series the same way. I could go through, and I do in the article, I go through quite a few examples, but I don't know a better way to describe it other than predatory. They're 100% looking to take advantage of people, and that's how they do it. And separating people and their hard-earned money, life savings for some of them, into buying this bullshit snake oil. Well, because they want people to feel like they're going to go change lives, and that's what they sell. Yeah, and that is again, soapbox. I go off, but that is the problem with the industry. So they're trying to use people.
It reminds me of the old the real estate crash.
Exactly.
Back 2008, 2009, whenever that was. When everybody was getting loans, you deserve a house. Really, banks were predatory in the way they were 100%. Giving out loans, and lo and behold, fucking everything collapsed because no one can afford, making $90,000 a year, and you buy a $500,000 house to $1 million house on that sort of budget, if you want to call it. And they made you feel good. They made you like, yep, your first house, a big celebration, all that good stuff. And guess what? Now you're basically almost homeless, 10 years later, because you're upside down in your loan and you can't afford shit. Yeah, and there was a reason behind that, and that's the thing. The same thing with the F45 and these gyms or these big companies that prey upon people like that. And it's amazing how much that goes on under people's noses without noticing it. And our one of our favorite subjects that you touch on is fitness influencers. I love them so much. We absolutely love them, because the bro science these guys and gals put out is amazing. And though, they have hundreds of thousands of followers, and these followers, it's amazing. To me, the analogy of a fitness influencer or influencer as a whole is almost like those evangelical priests, like to have the massive super churches, and people donate and give millions and millions of dollars to these guys, and they're flying around in like private jets. But that's what this reminds me of, because their supporters, or their disciples, actually I'll call them their disciples, god damn do they protect them. Right. Oh, yeah. God damn, do they protect them. And they don't even, and it's amazing, because those individuals who are so narcissistic and so in for themselves, they could give a fuck. They will write you off in a heartbeat, yep. Because you did not elevate their ego anymore.
Yeah. Or you dared to challenge if they did something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's
exactly.
Like, hey, if I fuck up, I know who the first phone call is going to be. It's you or Gabe. It's like, so don't fuck up. But the reality is like they can't be held accountable, because that would destroy the mirage.
There's no, like we said, there's no regulatory body, really. You can literally sell snake oil on fucking Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and make a killing on that snake oil just because. That's
the single best example of that. And we could go all day just scrolling through Instagram, and I could light it up, and there's no defense on their part, because they don't know shit about fuck, and they can't actually sit there and have an academic conversation, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. The best example is the Liver King. That motherfucker. And anybody that's been around the game long enough knows like that motherfucker's on all the juice. Like not just some of the, like he's on all the juice. Sunning his balls is not fucking creating that body.
No, raw liver is not creating that.
I'm not going to say now. I'm not going to say that the if you took that structure right and you took that program, not inclusive of the drugs that he's taking secretly on the side. If you took that structure and program, you will have massive benefits. Because the way he it's same as Barry Bonds. I had no problem with Barry Bonds on the juice because it's like, well, one, he never tested positive. That's one thing people don't realize. He never fucking tested positive. And two, what he was taking at the time wasn't actually in the bylaws. So, and three, if everybody's doing it, he still got to hit the fucking baseball, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yes, it's cheating. Don't get me wrong. The people that are listening, it's like it's absolutely immoral with regards to what the intent of the rule is.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with Liver King. I don't give a flying fuck that guy's on all the juice on the planet.
Yeah,
just own it because your training, programming, and your most of the dietary stuff and the supplement stuff was actually pretty accurate information.
Yes,
if he'd have just fucking sold that, it would have been fine.
Without telling everyone to live in ancestral living and natural and all that. Like, dude, stop.
Well, and that's there is some validity to getting away from chemical based and processed 100%. Foods, right? I mean, we can all agree on that. And I think if he'd have been out of the gate saying, I also take these things.
What, $12,000? I think, what was it? $12,000 a month of fucking gear.
But what the fuck do you think Dwayne Johnson takes every month,
I know,
right?
I know.
Or every fucking Hollywood actor or actress that's going out for, hey, I got to be Batman in 6 months. I got to gain 22 pounds. I got to be Superman. I got to gain 25 pounds. It ain't fucking natural. And I got no problem with it, right?
No,
and by natural, I mean, they're not doing it without help, right? And because your body just breaks down. And we've covered this in the podcast this year. I don't think anybody can say that we are anti I don't even want to say performance enhancing. I want to say hormone replacement.
Well, right? I mean, because if it helps you, it helps you. Like,
right.
By all means.
And whatever, they're going to do a case study on our demographic, right? And it's going to be, whatever the fuck it was, the plastics in our baby bottles or the whatever's in the environment, whatever the fuck it is. We have a historically blown away low level of testosterone hormone production amongst the men in society. Right. I mean, this is known. What the causes are, whether that'll ever come out, it's hard to say, but there's a lot of conjecture. The reality is that is the byproduct of it. So if that is what's going on, fix it. I don't give a fuck if you're on TRT. I don't. No. Be smart about it. Go to a doctor, get your fucking numbers, track your shit, eat well and train. Don't take TRT thinking it's going to make you fit, because if you jump on the juice, for lack of a better term, and you're not training, you're just going to get fatter.
Exactly.
It's just going to be so much worse.
Exactly.
But like with Liver King, he sells this whole thing for, I think if he'd come out now with his product and his shtick, I do think there's been a cultural acceptance of men on testosterone replacement therapy and hormone replacement therapy. And I think if he comes out now with that and shows like, this is what you can do when you're actually tracking your shit. I think he's just as successful.
But absolutely.
He wasn't. He fucking lied. And so he's the perfect example of that influencer where it was so over the top bullshit that you're like, okay, now what? But the problem is we have like fucking goldfish memory on social media.
Absolutely. And it's amazing.
I mean, we have a common person we know that like they'll put stuff out and it's like, that wasn't a good idea, and then they'll pull it back, but it's like for those 6 hours that it was up, you're like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? But people will just wipe it away because they're followers. It's
absolutely
perfect. It's the perfect name. They're followers. And so the Instagram fitness influencers and all that shit, they're just it's really hard to know what is or isn't a good person or entity to follow, because there's so much fucking noise.
Oh, that's the thing. And you mentioned like 3 that you follow, that I follow, that are really good, and we'll touch on those real quick. Just to get through the 3, because they're actually very, very good.
They're fantastic. I mean, there's, and I could give 10 or 12 examples of each of these, but one of the guys, so if you're kind of a listener and you're looking for, I'm going to say your general fitness, right? So you're maybe coming back into it, whatever, but not really specific into like hardcore, or you're afraid of whatever, that's fine. But there's a guy out of Australia. His name is James Smith. And on Instagram, he's James Smith PT. Fucking hilarious. He's a legit stand-up comedian, but he's also like a BJJ. He might be a black belt now, but he's world champion BJJ. He's a personal trainer online, I guess you could say. Used to do he's fucking hilarious, but he's a straight shooter. He 100%, there's no bullshit. he just very much like me, no filters, no fucks. And he's, he backs all of his stuff with actual data and science, but it's also very consumable for the just kind of the normal non, kind of gym person. He's fucking great. So James Smith PT is a guy that I actually love when he puts stuff out, because it's kind of like when T-Mac puts out his stuff on Wednesdays with, the basic dude stuff. James does kind of the same sort of thing with training and fitness, and it's fucking hilarious because it's so straightforward and it's just such a straight shooter. So James Smith PT is a great one. Another guy that I really like is Dr. John Russin. So Dr. John is, I would say, probably more towards the injury rehab or preventative treatment side. For, especially for our law enforcement and military listeners that got some mileage on their body. He's really, really good about not just demonstrating, but educating movement patterns as to why you need to do certain things, why you need to avoid other things, why some movements, which might not be sexy, are actually better for you. He's really, really good. I like Dr. John quite a bit. He does a lot of stuff on, the joints, your distal joints, the stuff that gets hurt the most, especially in our line of work, shoulders, knees, ankles, hips. He's really good. And then if you're looking for kind of the to follow somebody on socials there, more of a sports-based, background, Power Athlete Inc. The guys at Power Athlete and Power Athlete HQ, John Wellborn. John's smart as fuck. That guy's he's a monster. Just physical, NFL superstar. Like, the guy is just an absolute specimen. But the group that works with them and that does their training they're out of this world. But it is not for everybody. It's definitely on the like high-end performance athlete end of the spectrum. My buddy Leo trains with their stuff, and he's a firefighter, so he's got plenty of time to do it. But Leo's been training with Power Athlete for years, and he applies a lot of their sports performance stuff to his training because it's applicable to his, like heavy rescue stuff with fire. But Leo's also a specimen, right? Yeah, so it's not for everybody, but if you want to educate yourself and follow some people, those three, I had to kind of pick three, and it's tough because I could pick quite a few more, but I really like those. I guess, for lack of a better term, influencers, but yeah, they're awesome.
And speaking with the Power Athlete and actually let's kind of transition now to app-based training, right?
Yeah.
And we've put together this kick-ass app-based, not to be a salesman, but we put together this awesome app base that you actually put together single-handedly. Right. And I've been on it for a while. Our third head of the Cerberus, Gabe's been on for a while, and you have, maybe over 100 people, cops, firefighters on there.
Yeah. As far as because I got people that work on that, and then I got people that I work with remotely. So it really came out of it. Actually, Gabe's a good example. His group, one of the things that was coming out of the back end, a few years into the CrossFit phase, was guys were getting hurt, right? Because if you're training full time and you're on gear and all that kind of stuff, you can recover. It's great, right? If you're a legit deployed, working all day in that capacity and then try to train like that, guys are breaking down. And which I got nothing against good CrossFit, right? Or good Metcon, anything on that front. But they were applying it in that kind of, 1% SF mentality of, well, if 100's good, 105 is better, right? And so they just, the wear and tear catches up to you.
When you're ultra alpha, you don't know how you don't know how to slow down.
Yeah. It's like, what speed should I go? More, just faster, harder, fucking, by width and straight through.
Yeah. Exactly.
But that was the thing, was that the guys were starting to break down. And for better or worse, my background, with so much orthopedic stuff, I've had to be modifying performance training for years. And so this collective knowledge that I've gained, and it's not just like that I made anything. No one, my buddy Wolf says it perfectly. No one has invented anything new in fitness since the Greeks. So essentially all of your primary movements go back to your core Olympic movements, right? Yep. All of the lifts, all the shit, whether it's Strong First, which I love them for their, kettlebell stuff, barbell work, everything eventually goes back to your primary Oli movements. And there are a lot of really great methodologies out there. I really like a lot of stuff that Jim Jones has done in the past. I do like stuff that CrossFit's done. I like stuff from Strong First. I like Power Athlete stuff. I like Westside Barbell, right? Louis Simmons, the guy is a fucking maniac. Duffin, same thing. Those guys they were trendsetters in all the most extreme ways, but they really did develop some phenomenal protocols. And so as a, trying to be a total holistic, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, tactical athlete. You know, if you're in law enforcement or military or fire, you're kind of a tactical athlete, but training around injuries or trying to prevent them or dealing with the mileage. And so developing this programming and, you know, Gabe and his guys were a big part of that early on, of just kind of testing some shit. Right.
Yeah,
and this is, you know, 15 plus years ago.
Yeah.
That evolved into, you know, a lot of remote work because I had to do remote with them because they were gone.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of kept kind of snowballing and going to where the vast majority of what I do now on that side of things, and includes our training, is PD and military, you know, law enforcement and military, because it's such a specific activity for your job.
Yep.
You have to train like a professional athlete. That's, you know, when Corey was on earlier this season, you know, talking about the stuff he's doing with Triple Canopy.
Yeah.
I mean, he could go work for any NFL team, and he's working for Triple Canopy training contractors.
Yeah. You got to train like an athlete. Yeah.
Right. You got to train like a tactical athlete. And we used to get made fun. I mean, legitimately get made fun of like that. Right. It was like, oh, okay. But it's like, no, but if you look at the movement patterns, it's very similar.
Yeah, exactly.
And the capability and capacity. So what we've got, you know, we're not for everybody. You know, the training itself is not for everybody. If you're super high end alpha, you know, we can cover that. But the reality is that's like 1/10 of 1% of people out there. The majority of people are in that kind of bell curve where it's like, I'm kind of on my fitness game, but I might be off, you know, that detective, right?
Yeah,
it's like, I'm not morbidly obese. If you are, happy to help, right? We can, if you're a cop and you are fuck fat as all get out, just fucking start. Just start.
Exactly.
And modify, and we'll, you know, there's other, you know, but it's scale, right? You got to just start. And so that's what with the app is, we really looked at, and a big part of, you know, and a huge thanks to Charlie and Havok Journal, because they're going to be, you know, they're hosting it, is putting that in front of our overall law enforcement military community, who, you know, the young guys, they can go out and do all kinds of stuff because they got cartilage, they got all kinds of mileage. It's more of the, you know, hey,
for guys our age, got a lot of mileage behind
or younger guys that are pretty beat up, right? I mean, I got a couple guys that just got done with their second re-up. You know, they're 8 years in, but they were in Ranger and Airborne. It's like, they jumped out of plane so many fucking times, their backs are all fucked up, and they're 27 years old. So it's Indiana Jones. It's not the years, it's the mileage.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what we built the programming around, and it's really geared towards wherever you're at. You have a spot with us. If you need modification up or down, we can do that. But we're really trying to talk at and attack the middle of that bell curve, where it's like, hey, you would be the number one, for lack of a better term, victim in the general fitness industry. Fuck all that. Leave that shit aside. Go join the gym that has the equipment that you need. But if you're looking for programming, because again, anybody can go learn this stuff. We're just saving you a bunch of time and hopefully saving you a bunch of money, wasting it with, you know, some fuck off trainer. But they are the ones that we're most interested in, because they're the ones that are on patrol. They're the ones that are first responding to real crises, right? Same with our military side. It's like, they're the ones that are in the field that are at the most high level risk. We want them to be the most capable they can be. Right. And what you think you're capable of today, if you start today, the best day to start was yesterday. The next best day is today, right? Where you're at today versus where you'll be at in a year. You're going to be like, what the fuck? You put those goals on paper and you're going to blow through them in 3 months and be like, fuck, now what? Well, we can help with that. Right. I mean, that's the whole thing. And so it's a combination, not just the fitness side, but, you know, specifically, like we were talking about, gearing towards law enforcement, military. We got, you know, the fitness side, dry fire work, live fire drills, and then combatives.
So it's kind of like that's what we've always wanted to do, is just create this holistic sort of programming, because we need it to fit what we do. Right?
Exactly.
And that's the thing. So, I mean, the app base, we're going to embed it into the show notes also, right? That way you guys can just click it, check out the app, you know, check out the programming, see if you like it, sign up. Like it's really not expensive, right? We made sure it's not that way. Everyone can get some sort of benefit out of it. And like Jake said, honestly, like, you know, my home gym is enough, right? Squat rack, rower, bike, you know, if you can afford a ski erg, have a ski erg, kettlebells, very simple, right? Not too much equipment you need. I got sandbags. It's very simple, right? So you go to some gym and just, you know, use the app, right? Use the app, use the program, and have your own workout. Tell that fucking wannabe trainer that got a certification from fucking, I don't know, Phoenix fucking University or whatever that thing is called. Just fucking be like, yeah, fuck off. I know more than you, and that's it.
We just lost Phoenix University as a sponsor, by the way.
Whatever. Whatever. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm totally pumped for it. It's going to be awesome, awesome, awesome. So, Jake, you definitely put some truths out there, dude. And you killed it. You know, you killed it with this article. And you know, as you do it with everybody else, if there's one thing people get out of this episode today, what would it be?
Just read. I mean, if it's anything you can do, go read more. And then when you think you've read enough, read some more. I mean, if it's my article, that's great. If it's any of the articles on Havok Journal, that's even better, because there's a lot smarter people on there than I am and you are, but they somehow Charlie let us on there too. So, but no, read. The more you read, the more information you can gather. Read both sides. If you got an opinion on something, go read the other side. Just intake as much information as possible, and you will not be sorry. That's you know, if you got time on shift tonight, like I said, please feel free to read my article and then follow those hyperlinks. Go to the link data. It's gonna open your mind a little bit and hopefully be the start of the next step in your journey. But you know, again, as always, couldn't have even had the opportunity to do this if it wasn't for you, sir, and of course all the supporters and sponsors for this podcast. Our good friends at AAA Police Supply, that one-stop shop for supplies and duty gear. Head over to AAAPoliceSupply.com. Use that code hybrid10 for 10% off every order you make. Big thanks, obviously, to Havok Journal, the voice of the veteran community, focusing on the current affairs and articles of interest with independent news. We are all about facts, and we do have fun. We talk a little shit. It's a ton of fun over there. Go over to HavokJournal.com right now, and then also check out our friends there at the Profiles in Havok podcast as well. Big thanks to Second Mission Foundation, educating, elevating, and advocating for our service community. Check them out at everything they're doing at secondmissionfoundation.org, as well as our friends right down the road at 22 Mohawks and 22mohawks.com, combating veteran suicide by providing the assistance to veterans needing help re-entering the civilian world. And if you're re-entering the civilian world, don't buy into F-45. Big thanks to Kyle and Viking Tactics, the best tactical gear anywhere, from battle belts and slings to everything in between. They've got it all ready to go when the job calls for it every single time. Check them out at vikingtactics.com. And of course, our good friends at the Overwatch Project. Head over to overwatchproject.org for more information on how to form workable plans of action and how to just fucking ask. Whew.
All right, man, great job.
I hate talking about myself, but you made it somewhat pain-free. I really dislike being in this chair, but thank you so much for giving me the reach around and being really gentle today.
And I used lube, so
yeah, lots of lube. I'll just make sure that my daughter turns off the episode right at this point.
All right,
well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And everybody else that's out there, love everybody that's listening, and make sure to stay safe.
Stay sapient.